Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Inthirani Arul. She is a gifted writer, leader, and agent of change. She is perseverant and a single mom who knows that she has a greater purpose in helping others. She's passionate about spreading the message that you are not alone and that you too deserve to be happy and live a respectful, meaningful, fulfilling, and purposeful life. She has written the Self Esteem Survival Guide, and I'm going to open it up for Inthirani to let you all know more about her story and the Self Esteem Survival Guide. Welcome, Inthirani.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me here today.
I'm very interested in this topic because it is so interesting. Our self-esteem is so important, and yet so many of us suffer from either lack of high self-esteem, or we have low self-esteem, or we just have these ebbs and tides throughout our lives, and sometimes we find ourselves kind of needing a little bit of help. So I really am intrigued by the title of your book, The Self-Esteem Survival Guide. Tell me about why you wrote this book.
Well, the reason I wrote this book was because it was part of my own healing at first. And also, I wanted to help other people with their self-esteem, because I know self-esteem impacts at least 1 in 3 people through the research I've done. And at some point in our life, we all struggle with ups and downs in our relationships, possibly, in our interactions. And there's things that happen in our lives, challenges, obstacles that occur.
So you've had quite the journey. I understand that not only have you ended up being a single mom after your husband passed away, but on this journey, you found some, I guess, foundational things that have helped you. And part of that was some Dale Carnegie training. And then you did Peak Potentials and CEO Space. And you've also done a lot of work with Guruji Mahendra Trivedi. So let's talk a little bit about each one of those and maybe how that helped you to develop this survival guide and what you learned when you stepped up into public speaking.
Okay, sure. I started off with the public speaking because when I was at work, initially when I got my first full-time job, it was written on my evaluation, needs to communicate more. And I realized in that moment that in order for me to help other people, I had to help myself first because I struggled with communicating with people, and so I had this nervousness around me, and I always worried about what other people thought of me and how they were like. I felt like I was that they were always analyzing me, and it really, and I was not even comfortable with myself. So I started seeking, and I found I was guided to go to either Toastmasters or Dale Carnegie. So I went to Dale Carnegie public speaking and human relations training because I wanted to be a quality worker. I wanted to, really help the people that I was caring for because I was working in a group home with nonverbal special needs people who could not speak for themselves, and I was their advocate. And so I had to speak up for them. And if I couldn't speak up for myself, how could I possibly speak up for them? So I did go to Dale Carnegie, and it was a shocker. I was terrified because there was like 50 people in the room. And so, so anyways, to make a long story short, it was at first I barely, could speak. I'd stand up there and I'd freeze, but I kept persisting and I said, no, I got to do this. And I kept going back because I want to be a good quality worker. That was always in my mind. And so I continued going back, and I graduated with 2 awards, actually. The Crashing Through Award, and then the highest award for achievement. I did because I practiced so hard. I practiced every single day. I never gave up. I just kept on, as hard as it was. I just went and did it. And that's what I encourage anyone, it's like just to face your fear, because when you face it and you just keep pushing through it, you're going to get past it and you're going to succeed.
That is really inspirational because, as you were saying, that the perseverance, keep trying no matter what. And of course, I was listening, and you had a bigger goal beyond yourself. You were thinking about that I want to become better so that I can be an advocate for these other people who maybe couldn't speak for themselves. And you just said it. You kept persevering. You kept going back, practicing and practicing and practicing. And as most people know, public speaking is one of the number one fears that most people have. And to be able to step up and walk up against that big fear of public speaking is huge. And I think that you're right. That is a really foundational thing in helping you to grow your self-esteem. Now, you went on and peak potentials and CEO space are pretty big organizations, and those are typically reserved for very high-level people. So congratulations on that. What would you say is the biggest lesson you learned from peak potentials and your time with CEO space?
Okay, so with peak potentials, the training that I went through was phenomenal. Because it was all experiential. I had to do the exercises that were presented, and just to do each activity that was presented, and regardless of how challenging, how much fear I had around it, just to do it, and it just was. I remember the Enlightened Warrior Training Camp was an outdoor experience, and the things that we were doing in that training was, I never imagined myself doing these things. And it was just it was like, it really helped me discover who I was and where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, and just to persevere again, just to get every experience and just push through it, because the more I experienced, the greater understanding I had of the various things that are out there and how to overcome situations. I remember we climbed this one mountain, and literally were carrying things like bricks and all kinds of stuff. Like we just went up, and you worked as you had a partner, and you always treat your partner, like always take care of your partner, your team member. You never turn your back on them, regardless of how much struggle it is to get up that mountain. You stay with that person. You encourage them, and you work together, and you move up that mountain together. And experiences like that, I mean, I could never have experienced anywhere else.
So teamwork, and again, if you look at the basics of how life is, we are not in this life all by ourselves. We are generally, in our homes and families, we have other members of the family that we have to support. And then there's also, in a workplace situation, you're absolutely right, there's always other team members. And again, you brought up the same word, that perseverance. You have to keep on trying to move forward no matter what. So you also mentioned CEO space. And is there one thing that really stands out about how CEO space helped you to develop?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. It was a very frightening place, CEO space, for me, because these were all business leaders, and here I was amongst those United Nations members were in there. There were CEOs like from Safeway, from like huge Walmart, huge organizations that were here. And we had to network with these people. And I was there at a time in my life where I didn't even know what my purpose was. Trying to discover my purpose. Here, yes, I had written some children's stories at this point in my life. And I was trying to figure out, how can I get these children's stories out? But I really didn't know much more. Like, where am I going to go with this? How am I going to get this done? And here I was amongst all of these business people. It was completely terrifying. And but the beautiful thing was, I learned something wonderful. It's about collaboration, not competition. That was one of the greatest lessons I learned there. And to always collaborate. And because that's how we work together, and that's how we become more successful in life, is by collaborating with others and learning and helping them grow, and they help you grow. And that's where success really is when we're working together. And the beautiful thing was, I actually met a wonderful human being there during that experience, named Shelley Hunt, who actually was the person that's helped me with both with the Self Esteem Survival Guide and SoulPath. So she's kind of guided me through those books, and because of her, I was led to really discover myself even more.
Wow, that's really phenomenal. And that is what the Self Esteem Survival Guide is all about, is becoming your authentic self. Tell me more about what that really means, and how your connection to Guruji Mahendra Trivedi has helped you develop that authentic self even more.
Absolutely. Well, actually, interesting. For the Self Esteem Survival Guide, I had actually met Guruji just after I started writing it. But with having met Guruji, it really helped me even get, like, I didn't, the message, the writing just started flowing through me. It was like, I didn't even know, it was like downloads coming down, and that I was able to, it would just flow through me to come out onto the paper. And it was amazing how that energy has helped me really connect, to know that I'm not alone, that there is there's the divine, and through everything I do, divine is there. And because I always worried about other people, I always worried about what they thought of me, and I don't want other people to. I want other people to understand that they are not alone, because there is a higher power. There is the divine. There is God of our understanding, who's there to guide us always, and we can always turn. It's always within. It's not outside of us.
Wow, that's really beautiful. I'm actually looking at your table of contents for your Self Esteem Survival Guide, and it's very interesting because as you're speaking, you mentioned how this flowed, as if it were being downloaded, and I'm looking at some of the titles, and you have, like, for example, chapter 1, anchored and standing in your authentic self. Chapter 2 is remember who you are. And that's a very interesting concept about remembering who we are, especially when it comes to the soul part of us. And I know that your business is actually called SoulPath. So I know you're very connected in that mind, body, soul part of everything. And then chapter 3 is lost in the forest. 4, darkness emerges through the trees. And then 5, isn't me. 6, when the waters rise. 7, riding the waves. 8, caught in the tide. 9, the gift. 10, the aftermath from the storm and the rising waters. Number 11, understanding boundaries. 12, confidently looking back and moving forward. 13 is safety. And 14, this is your family, and this is an important message. And then, of course, tools and resources. Every single one of those chapter headings is intriguing in itself. And again, we could probably have an entire conversation, and well, we could, on each one of these topics. But I wanted to ask you, because, we do have limited time, of all of those chapters or that you've written about, which one calls to you even now, after you've written the book? Which one seemed to be really encompassing your message that you wanted people to really take away from the book?
Well, what I'd like people to know is that that there is, like, this is your family, and this is an important message. And that message is that every one of us has gifts that we've come with on the face of this, when we arrived here on the face of this planet, and we have talents and we have abilities, and it's to really take a look at and recognize what are those that we enjoy, those things that we truly are good at doing, great at doing, and you really lose your time in doing, and to really discover those within yourself. And because, every one of us has a purpose. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have a purpose in this life, and we're here for a reason. And when we discover that for ourselves, we can really help build our own confidence, our own self-esteem, and then we can give back to others and help others to grow their self-esteem and grow their abilities in whatever it is that they want to grow in.
Wow. So I'm really excited about this because, again, I can see just by the titles that you definitely were in flow. If somebody wants to reach out to you and talk to you about your books, because you have this book, and you have another book. What is it called?
It's called SoulPath, The Journey of a Heart-Centered Leader.
So you have this one, and this is the Self Esteem Survival Guide, and then SoulPath, The Journey of the Heart-Centered Leader. And then you also work with people with energy, and I would imagine, again, we've had conversations about that in the past, but I think it would be really good if somebody really wanted to connect with you, that they reach out to you and talk to you or connect. How can they do that?
Well, they can reach me at inthirani.com. That's inthirani.com. And so that's how they can reach me.
Great. Inthirani.com. I love the fact that I can actually say your name. It took me a while, but now I'm very confident that I can say your name. So I'm really proud of myself for that. Well, Inthirani, thank you so much for sharing about your journey. And I know it was just a little teeny bit of it, but I think your message is loud and clear about being persistent, persevere, keep moving forward no matter what. Be there for other people, be part of that team, be the leader, and understand that you have a purpose. I got a lot out of our short conversation today, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate everything.
Everyone, go to inthirani.com, connect with Inthirani, and learn more about her books and how you might work with her. This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.